The gentleman yields back. With that, Representative Titus from Nevada is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'd like to pick back up with something Ms. Kim was saying earlier about the closing of consulates. Earlier this year, your department sent a preliminary notification to Congress that it was going to move to close dozens of consulates and embassies, and they're around the world. They range from Luxembourg to the Maldives, from Durban, South Africa, to Busan, South Korea. I mean, they're everywhere. And one that I was especially concerned about was in Europe, and that's Thessaloniki, plans to close the consulate there in Thessaloniki, Greece. And I think this is at a time of real rising geopolitical instability, especially in that part of the world where Greece plays such a key role. The consulate there, especially, it's ensuring the potential of the base at Alexandropoli and the port at Thessaloniki. It plays a role in the implementation of IMEC. It's helping people come to the Olympics. I just wonder, without the consulate, aren't the beneficiaries of our not being there going to be China and Russia? And given your experience and connections there, do you really think that's a good idea?
So I don't think there's been any move to close the consulate in Thessaloniki. I do know a review was done of all of our overseas posts to assess their costs to the American taxpayer, to assess their benefits to the American taxpayer, to assess any revenue. As you know, consulates can generate revenue through fees and visa applications. But my understanding is I don't think any decisions have been made regarding closure, but people may be drawing conclusions from that analysis if they're looking at a consulate that maybe is very high cost or is in a remote area or is not providing substantial benefit. But I'd be happy to look at any particular concerns you have about individual consulates.
Well, I appreciate that, because when the secretary came to the committee, I asked him about how we're going to process visas for people to come for the upcoming Olympics and the World Cup if you're cutting these different consulates, because that's where a lot of people go. And he said, and I'll quote him, "There is no proposal at this time to close embassies or consulates. There has been media reporting because people like to leak lies, but there's been no such proposal, and I think I would know." Well, we're not hearing any more specifics, whether it's what's happening with the study, is it going forward? Are you going to consult with Congress, because that's the law, before you close any of these overseas posts?
Oh, certainly. I mean, we've consulted on the reorganization that we've just begun to undertake, and I think my understanding is we provide briefings. I think 8 briefings per day to the Congress on various activities that are happening at the department. So I don't think this would be any different.
All right. Well, if you can help me get that information, I'd appreciate it, because I think China is expanding its diplomatic footprint while we're decreasing ours, and that seems to be not in our strategic interest. Another thing I'd like to ask you about is what Ranking Member Meeks was talking about with the present assignment of Foreign Service employees not being a factor for RIFs. I think that was kind of the conclusion that he drew based on a circulated department memo back from May. But we know that's not true, because just last month, without talking to Congress, y'all changed the Foreign Affairs Manual, and that's the document that sets out the procedure for RIFs, and now it makes it easier to fire Foreign Service officers. And when committee staff repeatedly reached out to try to get details on the RIFs, they were told that the department wouldn't provide such details in order to protect, and I'm quoting, the dignity of the workforce. So I wonder if you'll just explain to us what about the dignity of the workforce was protected when you just sent 1,300 employees home and said thanks, but no thanks.
Well, certainly, thank you. I mean, look, no one wants to be on the receiving end of a reduction in force notice. This happens all the time in the private sector. It happens, I think President, Clinton, he reduced the federal workforce by, I think, 377,000 employees. The federal workforce was reduced by 220,000 under President Obama. But we wanted to make sure that any employee was not finding out through media reports that they were going to be losing their job. We had a sacred responsibility to tell them individually, directly from the department, about their particular job situation, and that we didn't want them to get that notification from anyone else.
But some of the reasons for why they were riffed were just like coincidence of being in the country, not anything that they had done or the job wasn't needed. I mean, that seems to be pretty undignified, but thank you, and I guess my time is up.